You're watching Drake Wing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drake Wing Gaming, and SW on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Kingsguard. Anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, we're up, and let's go! Just living to age 70 was considered an enormous feat. How? You honestly think I would know? I don't have all the answers, and if I did, I certainly wouldn't be stuck here right now. Anyway, forget about that old hag. Why have you not undressed? You are wasting our time just standing around. Such a holy being, it certainly didn't seem like he had that much respect for her. And he was one to talk. He would have been in the bath right now if he didn't interrupt you. I told you already, I'm not doing anything while you were watching. Humans never cease to perplex. Hyosuke started towards the entrance, took one last look back at you, and then left. Even with him gone, you were still reluctant to get undressed. Being sneaky was his forte. He could just as easily jump around the corner in the blink of an eye. But the sooner you had your bath, the sooner you could get all this over with. Just a quick soak, enough to wipe off the grime and dirt, and then you would get dressed. You kept your eyes on him this time, not even risking a blink when your eyes started to dry. You took off your pants with equal difficulty, then your undergarments, and finally you had nothing left to hide. Are you just about finished? Yes, that doesn't mean you should come in. You looked around, found a towel, and wrapped it around your waist. After all, he only said that there were no clothes permitted in the pool. With yourself covered up, you felt a bit more at ease if he did happen to come back. You hastily shoved your clothes into a basket and put it into one of the cubby holes and rushed to the bath. You took a deep breath as you came outside. The crisp air was a wonderful change to the stuffiness of the bathhouse. As you looked around, you found that there was no one else here, and in front of you was the source of the steam, a large pool of water surrounded by trees and rocks. You shivered as a chilly breeze swept past your arms and legs. The water was looking more and more enticing by the second. You took a step forward before Hyosuke had the chance to come. Hold it! Without warning, you were pulled back by your arm and nearly slipped once more. Hyosuke was already here, and his grip was so tight you couldn't free yourself. You whipped around and glared at him. He was already undressing, with naught but a towel wrapped around his waist. His eyes shot down and he looked disappointed, as though he was expecting to see something. Well, what is it now? He brought his attention back to your eyes. You must wash before you are cleansed. You speak as though those are not mutually inclusive. You'll defile our sacred water by rushing in without first washing yourself off. Humans are unclean creatures who while around in their own filth for days, and from how you smell I'm more inclined to believe weeks. I suppose it makes sense for a noble to be the prime example. He tried to pull you in the opposite direction to pull you, but you managed to wrench your arm away and free yourself. You rubbed at your wrist. His muscles really weren't for show, and he had a solid grip. I was shipwrecked and washed ashore before being captured in those woods by you and thrown to the ground multiple times. You have to excuse me for not smelling like a bed of roses. Besides, I can move on my own. He started over towards a partitioned area with several stools and buckets and stopped by a well. When he pulled on a rope connected to a pulley, a bucket came up dripping with water. He freed it, then beckoned for you to join. You looked back over at the pool. Was it really so bad to just jump right in? No, don't do that. Yeah, don't piss them off. Join him by the well. He was likely plotting something else. In the short time that you met him, you pretty much had him all figured out. He was a degenerate and a bit of a rebel, and as much as you hated to admit it, he was almost kind of like you. You threw open your mouth a little bit when you thought that. You reluctantly moved towards him, but still remained cautious, stopping a fair distance away. Come closer. I'm not going to bite you. That's not what I'm concerned about. You really don't trust me, do you? I thought that'd be obvious. He set down the pail of water and reached into another bucket, producing what appeared to be a bar of soap and a sponge. Here. You took a single step forward, simply to grab them, and retreated back to a safe distance. So we have to wash ourselves first before going into the pool? That's a little strange. The hot springs are merely used for relaxation. Many people use it daily, so to keep the waters as clean as possible, we wash ourselves first. I guess that makes sense. Yes, I'm sure even you could attest how disgusting it would be to wade in another's filth. Though, with that stench, Hyosuke took a quick sniff and scrunched his face in disgust. Perhaps not. It was becoming difficult to tell if he was angry with you or with Koshiro. You really couldn't think of how you managed to invoke his wrath. Maybe he was just all around a scornful person. Though for a time, you were like that. In your youth, Koshiro was the brunt of blame for everything that went wrong in your life. When you tripped and fell into the garden, it was because of Koshiro, likely playing a trick on you. If you slept in too late and missed breakfast, Koshiro must have done something to the water you had every night before bed. He was the root of all your misfortunes, and whenever you looked back on that dark time in your life, you always felt ashamed. You're glad you were set straight by Leandros and were able to make it up to him. Who knows, if you continued down that path, maybe you would have turned out as contemptuous as Hyosuke. Hyosuke pulled off the towel around his waist and he quickly looked away. Afraid of seeing something? What the hell are you doing? Do you honestly expect me to wash myself with a towel on? I'm talking about you undressing right in front of me. Have you never heard of common decency? Common decency? You mean like how you try to get a peek at everyone back in the changing room? That was... If your face wasn't flushed before from the steam, he might have caught your shame. Given the circumstances, it was impossible to not see something there. Not that you actually did. He continued on, ignoring your stupor and grabbing a stool to sit himself down. It creaked under his weight, and you wished it would have snapped, or at least gave him a splinter. He brought the bucket above his head and let the water cascade down, then started to clean himself. Was he really going to be taking a bath as well? Wasn't he supposed to be on watch or something? Well, what are you waiting for? You will not be getting into that pool with as filthy as you are. You reached for the bucket at his side, reattached it to the pulley, and fetched yourself a pail of water. Not taking any chances, you moved as far away from him as you could until there was enough distance that even he would have trouble seeing. At least you hoped. You moved back just once to grab the remainder of your items, and he rose an eyebrow. When you returned to your spot and sat down, he was still staring over at you. Do you mind? You turned back and you scooted your chair further away. You removed your towel and brought the water down onto your body. Your skin tightened and goosebumps rushed along your body as your hair stood on end. It was much colder than you were expecting. You lathered the soap and began to wash yourself, starting with your hair, then your chest, next to your arms and legs. When you reached over to get your back, you found it was much more difficult. You lost most of your mobility from your days lounging on the ship, and your scar began to sting as you twisted around. Need some help? The wolf cried over, noticing your struggle. Not from you. You know, it is acceptable here for one to help wash another, particularly in difficult-to-reach places. Forget it. I haven't had someone help me wash since I was a child. Even then it was by someone my parents trusted. You have nothing to fear. I don't mean you any harm. It's a little late to be saying that. Well, you won't be allowed in the waters until you're clean, and I can still smell that mud scent on you. I'm sure you don't want to remain out in the open air, soaked. Besides, I could use a bit of help myself. He turned around and showed you his back, though your eyes unwittingly wandered down. If he wasn't such a prick, you might have actually enjoyed the view a bit more. You shook your head. Now wasn't the time for such thoughts. This might have been another decision that you would regret, but the cold was really starting to get to you. Fine, but stay there and don't you dare turn around. That is all right with me. I've already seen all that I need to. As you quickly grabbed your towel and covered up a devious smirk spread across his face. If the gods really did exist, you wish they would have smote him with heavenly thunder and lightning. You kept one hand tight onto the bucket filled with the sponge and soap, and the other onto your towel as you carefully made your way back. Surprisingly, he actually kept his word and remained still. Make sure to get in deep. We have thick fur that's difficult to clean, unlike you humans. Yeah, I know. Oh? You do? In your youth, you would sometimes bathe with Leandros. He was like your brother, and at the time you thought nothing wrong of it. He would help you, and you would do the same, but you always found his fur hard to wash. It got in knots, and he would sometimes cry out if you weren't careful trying to untangle it. After refilling the bucket, you grabbed yourself another seat and started on his back. You wasted no time, hastily scrubbing down, a bit harder than usual. You hoped he would have yelped, but instead he seemed to murr with pleasure. Yeah, just like that. I don't know what a noble like you was doing before, but perhaps you should change jobs. This might actually suit you a bit more. Though you are just moving in the same spot. You're going to have to also go lower. Begrudgingly, you moved your hands down and started working on his lower back for a while. Once more, the pain you were trying to inflict only seemed to be pleasurable to him. Lower. You moved your hands down. Lower. You scrubbed even further down. Lower. The words slipped off his tongue like honey on a spoon as he held on to every last syllable. He's being an asshole. I like him already. If you didn't know any better, he was actually getting a kick out of this. You questioned why you were even doing this in the first place. As you looked down, you were just inches above his... You quickly tore your hands away in disgust. You're clean! Before you had any time to say anything else, you picked up the bucket of water and splashed him. Ah! He shivered in the cold and you chuckled silently. You recalled a book that you read about a monastery hidden high atop a mountain in Far Huron. They were said to be one of the only pacifists in the Waste and practiced a strange religion. They also believed in something called karma, that good things happen to good people and equally bad things happen to those who are bad. He was getting just what he deserved, but as soon as he shook himself off, water splashed back into your face. Feels so good to be clean. Well then, I believe it's my turn to repay the favor. Before he had a chance to face you, you turned around. He scoffed for a second, then also retrieved more water and sat down. Before even starting, his hands were already on your back, running along your scar. Perhaps this really was a bad idea. Towel? It was still wrapped around your waist. As much as you didn't want to, knowing him, he would likely have ripped it off and shredded it, then you would have been without one. You removed it and kept it close to your lap to cover the front. The last thing you needed was him taking peeks over your shoulder. So tell me, how did you get it? It still hasn't fully healed. You must have received it just recently. Did you lose a fight? With your pathetic skill with the sword, I can see how you would have gotten it. Would you just hurry up? What's the rush? You're the one who was telling me to hurry up and bathe just moments ago. He stopped caressing your back and went to actually washing it. You thought he would have tried to get payback, but he was actually gentle. Though you were still prepared to get up and run at a moment's notice. I have to say, knowing of the relaxed lifestyle you nobles live by, you have a well-built body. I'd always assumed that most nobles were nothing more than fat slobs, gorging on food and drink, lying around and doing nothing but shouting orders. Well, you must not get out very often. Oh, I do, and I've met many people over the years. But you were the first that has truly intrigued me. He leaned in close to whisper in your ear, and you nearly jumped out of your seat. Shame you didn't even know how to use a blade. I would have liked a bit of a challenge. Humans always go down so easily. The way he spoke was more haunting than normal. All the while, he kept his hands busy washing your back, as though nothing was wrong. But you could feel it. His words suddenly had a murderous intent, like when he spoke to that beastman Jin. Then, as though it were a mere passing wind, his voice returned to normal. You know, I could teach you. You obviously don't know how to wield it properly. You're like a child, swinging around a toy and play-fighting pretend monsters. I have a teacher already. Not a very good one. How would you know? What would you know? Just based on the way you move and hold your sword, I can tell that they have barely taught you anything. Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!